All right, what's up, guys? Back here on Wrestling Reaction with our SmackDown reaction show. Yes, we're doing this live, kind of a surprise live show here on the channel. We usually do these pre-recorded, as you know. As you can see, I am traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday here in the States, and so I decided just to hit the live button. Rather, since I don't have all my editing stuff and everything with me at the moment, I was like, let's just go live and talk about SmackDown, knowing that we have Survivor Series coming up here in several hours in Vancouver, and we'll talk about kind of the schedule for Survivor Series a little bit later on. So I know probably won't be a lot of people watching this perhaps live, but you'll be watching it on the replay. And obviously, we have to talk about some of the big stuff that happened on SmackDown leading into the Survivor Series PLE later tonight. But of course, one of those is the big face-to-face between Roman Reigns and CM Punk. You had Paul Heyman sitting down between these two. They did it sort of cinematic style, the same way we saw with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, of course, leading into what happened, with them teaming up at Bad Blood and everything. And so that was kind of, certainly a big hook for this particular episode of SmackDown, which we know was already taped anyways. So that was, I think, that certainly the biggest sell heading into Survivor Series. And now we have questions, right? As you guys jump in here, as I said, if you're just coming in, we decided to do this live because my schedule is kind of all over the place this weekend with the, coming off the Thanksgiving holiday and such and traveling. So decided to hit the live button. So jump on in, share your thoughts on SmackDown in the comments, anything you want to talk about leading into Survivor Series tonight. And we'll talk a little bit more about that show here after we quickly run through SmackDown. Yes, hello. I know we don't do this again often, guys, for SmackDown. We usually do these for the PLEs. And I'll go ahead and tell you up front, we're TBD on doing the reaction show tonight after Survivor Series. Again, with my schedule, we may decide to hold that off until tomorrow. So you guys can digest the show tonight. Come with your thoughts tomorrow. We might do kind of a reaction show during the day tomorrow sometime. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time. We may not be on our normal schedule because, again, I am traveling. So we'll see what we can do, though. So I might have to watch Survivor Series in bits and, in kind of different segments a little bit later. I may not be able to fully watch the entire show until tomorrow morning. So, but again, let's quickly jump into SmackDown. As I said, the Roman Reigns and CM Punk thing, the biggest thing coming out of it, I thought, was, this favor, right? What is going to be the favor that CM Punk has for Paul Heyman? You guys weigh in the comments what you think about that. What is this big tease of the favor that Punk is going to have? And I think, that kind of leads you in the direction of knowing that we talked about this after it was officially, they reunited last week. Heyman comes out, brings out Punk, and we're thinking, right? It's the biggest hook you're going to have coming out of this match is what is going to be Paul Heyman's immediate future, not just what is Roman Reigns going to be doing with the original bloodline members and everything like that, right? But what exactly is going to be Heyman's future with either Punk or Reigns? And I think that is probably one of your biggest stories heading into the Raw and Netflix era, in a little over a month now. I think you're clearly wanting to set that up to where there is some doubt as to what Heyman is going to be doing. And because of that, you're going to have tension both with Reigns and with Punk. More so with Reigns right now, because we heard Roman Reigns here flat out ask Paul Heyman, right? What's the favor, wise man? And the wise man won't tell him what the favor is. And I think that is a great way to do it, because now we go into this match thinking there's going to be something in this match, knowing the miscommunication and all that can happen between Reigns and Punk, right? But there's still that thought of, okay, what exactly is Paul Heyman up to? What's CM Punk up to? And if they do win this match, which you guys know I made my predictions, I picked them to win this match. Because I think there's probably more you can do with that. Of course, you could have, some big, huge return from The Rock, or something big happens on the solo side of things, and maybe they find a way to win. But I do think you give the original bloodline and Punk the victory here, and then the questions coming out of it are the most interesting part. But what is Heyman going to do coming out of this? If Punk is the person, let's say, who helps Reigns get the pin on whoever, right? I mean, maybe Reigns pins Solo again. Maybe Reigns pins Jacob Fatu, whatever they decide to do here. What is the favor? That's what we've got to figure out now. And I like the fact that they've added that question in, because it makes it a little bit more suspenseful, other than just, okay, what are they going to do in the match? Now we know there are stakes involved coming out of it. Punk is getting something out of this. We just don't know exactly what it is. Will it involve something with Punk, chasing after a championship of his own? Something with Rollins? Like there's a lot of stuff you can come up with as for what this favor could be. But you guys know we like our mysteries. We like trying to figure out what they got cooking up, right? So I think this is kind of a fun little detail they've added in. And we'll definitely play into, I think at some point in the future, we've said it, right? Like, you want to have a match between Roman Reigns and CM Punk. I don't think it's going to be in the near future, but way down the line, that's still another money match that's on the table for WWE. And we said they got a lot of those. So I think it's very exciting to kind of see how they build this up. And there's plenty to work with given the history between Punk and Heyman, Reigns and Heyman. And now we see what happens tonight at Survivor Series. So I like the way they did that. You know, the cinematic style, I think, is going to be the future of these big time segments like this. You know, just like the one we have with Reigns and Cody, you do the same thing here with Punk and Reigns. And it makes it feel different, but it also makes it feel different in terms of like special. Like, it is something completely different that you're used to seeing. They're not just standing in the back and those kind of things. Talking, right? This is a very important deal. Like the setting, the mood, like even the lighting, right? It's a dark room. Like, there's no lights in this room. These guys are, you know, getting paid millions and millions a year, but they can't even find lights for this meeting. It's got to be dark. It's got to be, you know, all the sort of those kind of aesthetics that you got to have in there, right? So there you go. But Kermit says here in the chat, I think Paul is definitely turning on Roman. Paul was wearing Solo's exact suit the other night, and he's hiding something from the tribal chief. Yeah, I think that he's definitely hiding something. I don't think there's any question about that. And I think probably you saw the reaction from Reigns whenever he did ask Heyman. He's like, what is the favor? And Heyman's like, he could not tell Roman Reigns, right? And I think that's so unusual. Like, this is the relationship these two have built over the years. And he can't even tell Reigns what this favor is, because he knows probably whatever it is not going to make the tribal chief happy. And so, you know, you're playing with that dynamic too, to where are Reigns and Heyman all the way back on the same page now? I don't think so. You guys know my thoughts on that. I don't know if Heyman is turning tonight. Like I said, I think it's something's cooking for the future, but I think it has a lot more maybe to do with Punk than we would have expected. But like we said, there's the wild cards with The Rock. How are they going to bring him back? You guys know what I've been pushing on that for a while now, in terms of, at some point you've got to reveal The Rock either as the mastermind behind Solo's version of the Bloodline, or you've got to have The Rock come in and basically kick Solo to the curb, you know, to try to turn this thing around. If Reigns and company get the win tonight at Survivor Series, then Solo will have come up short again in another big match. As we said, yes, he's gotten a couple pins here or there against Reigns and Cody, you know, Money in the Bank and Crown Jewel, but these are the big matches, right? Like, this is the warfare. Like, this is the final sort of, you know, big piece of the puzzle here. And so if he doesn't come through, then I think, you know, that's another reason for, and, you know, Solo's been interesting. Like I said, I think Solo initially, I understand people like giving Solo, you know, all this hell for not being Roman Reigns and everything, but I think Solo has come into his own in this role. I think he's doing way better than he was initially, and I think he's gotten a lot more comfortable with what he's actually doing here. So I do think you can eventually turn Solo back to this side with Roman and such. I just don't think it's going to happen. You know, it's not going to happen tonight or anything, but I do think you can turn Solo back to that side, because I think you're seeing a little bit more of that human side of Solo, even though he's hired all these mercenaries and, you know, bringing in Bronson Reed for this match and those things. But I can see it with Solo. I can see fans wanting to cheer him again in the future. It just isn't going to be anytime soon. So, all right, so we'll quickly continue on this. Again, this is kind of a SmackDown reaction, guys, but we are doing this live, so I'm just going to react to your questions as I always do when we do these live streams. Because, I mean, SmackDown was a tape show. If you already read the spoilers, you knew what was happening. And really, outside of the Reigns and Punk thing, you know, Jacob Fatu wins the advantage match. So we said, I mean, come on, you got to give Solo's group the advantage going into this. There's no reason to give the advantage to Reigns and company. So Jacob Fatu pins Jey Uso cleanly, and I think, you know, that's significant, because it tells you what they think about Jacob Fatu, which we already knew because of how they built him up over the past several months. So getting a clean win over Jey says something about, you know, again, their thoughts on Jacob Fatu. Robert asks here, always appreciate Robert jumping in on the live streams. But I think The Rock's returning tonight. I feel like last time, right? We had all this sort of buzz, and like the day before, we're thinking, all right, who knows what's going to happen? But then it started to come together. You're like, oh, wait a second, he's going to be there. Like, you could tell, like, it was all setting up. The Rock's going to be there. I don't have as great of a feel on this one. And again, because I have been kind of out of the loop the past couple of days, other than just watching SmackDown, I haven't been online seeing different reports or anything like I usually do sometimes. So I would love to tell you that I'm completely tapped in right this second to anything out there on The Rock, but I haven't seen it because I've just been, you know, the holiday stuff and everything. So, but would it surprise me? No, but I do think, as I've said before, if Reigns and company win tonight, and let's say Solo is the reason that his team loses, I do think that's where you then have the opportunity to bring The Rock quickly back into the fold. Because remember too, right? you want to get The Rock back into the fold, not just because of WrestleMania 41. You want to then get The Rock ready for Netflix because he's going to be on that first show, 1st of January. So you got to get him back at some point soon to start to tie him into that appearance on Netflix. And so I think that is kind of the big thing. So we'll see. There's always a chance. And you guys know my thoughts on it too. It's if The Rock is available, The Rock is going to come back. Like you bring him back, no matter the scenario. He's The Rock. You bring him out there. So if the new version of Bloodline wins, surely you think The Rock has something to do with it. But that's just my thoughts on that. But all right, keep your comments coming. As I said, we will basically just focus on this. But let's see some other thoughts here on what we have here. All right, so back to Kermit here. Yeah, that's interesting. I think Punk and Heyman are going to take the championship, and then they will torture the Bloodline and manage to stay out of reach. Another best in the world type reign. Yeah, I think Punk's favor has to have something to do with him in the championship, right? Because maybe it's Punk needing some kind of guidance for Paul to kind of get back to that, kind of level that he was before. And you can also see how maybe it ties in with The Rock too, because remember, like Punk has history with The Rock, and so there are ways to do this as well. So I am curious to see where they go with this favor thing. And as the Double A here mentions, you do have Rock kind of the movies that he's been filming and all those things. Seemingly the schedule is wrapped up, so I think that's clearly noticeable too. Getting ready for this Netflix thing, and we get going on that. So I could definitely see that being the case. But all right, let's see what else we've got here. Somebody go to this one. Prediction here. Paul turns, Solo wins. The favor is Punk gets the title shot versus Cody. See, I'm glad you brought up Cody because I also thought that like this has to be something involving Cody's championship. I don't think necessary. And look, we expect Punk to be into the world title picture on the side with Gunther and Rollins and those kind of things. But you do wonder, like, how do you tie Cody into this as well? Knowing that Cody's got his hands full right now with Owens, he's probably going to have his hands full with Orton, which at this point, I mean, is that more towards WrestleMania 41? I mean, again, I keep going back and forth on that. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of big matches available. So yeah, okay. So Rock officially said this again, guys. I've been out of the loop here, but as noted here, he did say he was finished with the filming. So if he's finished with filming, you want to kickstart and remember too, Survivor Series is a great chance to really get that huge buzz going into December, which, as we said, that you're then only a month away from Netflix. They've really been ramping this up. And I keep bringing that up, right? You're like, well, it's just a switch. It's just a switch. This is the biggest thing they've ever done in terms of this switch from going from Raw on USA Network to Netflix. This is one of the biggest things they've ever done in the history of the company, just because of the magnitude of what this means. So you're going to get Rock on, Raw. You're going to get Cena. You're going to get Reigns. You're going to get Punk. You're probably going to get Cody on there. Like, it's going to feel like, take the favorite era of your fandom, like where you had all the stars, whether that's, in the Attitude Era or whatever, it's going to feel like that just because you're going to have all the star power loaded up on Raw, at least in the early going on Netflix, to get as many eyeballs as you can, to get everybody out of their, the habits of being on USA and all this stuff, getting them into Netflix and everything. So yeah, I could absolutely see it. But we'll see. Here's a good point too. And this is one we didn't really discuss, but I think this is another great point. Do you have Drew McIntyre come back and somehow get involved with Punk again? I don't know how quickly they want to reheat that back up. Just because you felt like that was pretty decisive. I think Rollins, as we said, is the biggest wild card in terms of, does he get involved in this match? Because if he does, it's going to be somehow costing Roman Reigns and CM Punk, right? And if Rollins does that, that becomes a very interesting twist, knowing that, the history between him and those two. So, but yeah. So yeah, Robert has a great point here. The real title of this video is Survivor Series predictions and preview, because that's what he wants to talk about. Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. Like I said, this was one where it just it was a lot easier for me just to go live and do a live stream instead of doing a pre-recorded video, editing all that, because my schedule, as I said, is a little bit tight. But so yeah, we're doing this, and here we go. I'll give you another 1 minute on SmackDown here, and then I'll get into Robert's question here on the women's WarGames. So I thought Kevin Owens had a good promo, kind of directed at Cody, talking about how he's going to become the Canadian Dream. So he keeps playing off of this stuff with Cody, really, kind of insulting Cody, that kind of stuff. So I like the setup they're doing for Saturday night's main event. Cody gets the win over Carmelo here. Carmelo still looks good. I've got to figure out what they're going to do with Carmelo. I think they're still waiting for something bigger for him. So good match between Cody and Carmelo. Shinsuke Nakamura gets the new theme music. I'm telling you guys, I don't know why. There's something to this about Shinsuke Nakamura and maybe either doing the DQ tonight against LA Knight or him winning the title. I don't know if either's going to happen. Maybe this is just a couple things to make you think that, all right, this is the new Nakamura, but I do like what they're doing at least. Sprays him with a mist and all that. So we'll see what happens. I don't feel like we're just getting a clean LA Knight win tonight. I don't think that would be the right move, but that's just my opinion on that. Women's War Game stuff, you have the brawl, and you did have Liv Morgan bringing up the different ideas of who attacked Jade Cargill. Keep that in mind. She brings up Bayley. Bianca's kind of, you're still wondering about Bianca, those things. So we'll get into that in a second because of Robert's question. But yeah, so those are the biggest things I thought. Michin advanced in the U.S. women's title tournament, so she's going to advance on in that one. Chelsea Green's already moved on in that tournament as well. This thing still going with Ciampa and Gargano. I think they're going to be back together as heels. That's coming at some point soon. And I think based on everything else on my notes here, again, guys, you can tell I'm kind of all over the place in terms of this. But yeah, that was pretty much it. We talked about Jey and Fatu earlier. So there you go. There's your SmackDown reaction. Let's talk about Survivor Series. So that's more important for everyone now anyways. So, all right. So the Women's War Games match. And people also talked about the potential, too, of Brock Lesnar returning. I see that down there as well. But we'll maybe get into that a little bit. But the Women's War Games, yeah, I think this is one where, because I feel more confident in who's going to win the Men's War Games match, I'm like, my thought is, you watched the prediction video, it was, do they really have the two babyface teams win again for the second straight year? And like, does that really mean anything in the grand scheme of things? No, but it is kind of one of those things where you're like, well, okay, well, maybe the heels should actually win one of these, right? But this is one where like the babyface side has the advantage on the women's, and it's always kind of a weird match, but I do feel like this is one where, to me, Tiffany Stratton's cash-in could be way above everything in terms of like how this thing actually plays out. You've got all the history and the relationships on Rhea's team to where you could definitely see them all kind of butting heads here, and somehow that costs in the match. Because I said I think the heel side needs this match more in terms of, Nia's lost multiple times now as champion. I mean, Liv's been protected pretty well, and I know that's well talked about, but I do feel like, you probably need it more for that side. And we mentioned the possibilities. Are Tiffany and Candice LeRae working behind Nia Jax's back? Is Tiffany going to strike here if she gets the opportunity? I just love the dynamic of Tiffany being able to cash in on one of her teammates here, which I still think it needs to be Jax. I don't think it needs to be Liv. I just don't think that is as impactful, in my opinion. But I do believe that this is something where I picked Rhea's team to win, but I'm not as confident on that as I was several days ago when I recorded that. I don't know. This one's pretty unpredictable in my opinion, because there's so many ways you can go, because you got all the history between all the women. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the babyface team just completely implode here. And that's where you get the pointing fingers as to whether it was Bianca or Bayley. And yeah, I mean, as brought up here in the comments, Anthony brings up, remember the build to Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, SummerSlam 2002. So I said initially I thought that Bianca was the one that made the most sense. I just think Bayley turning her again this quickly, I just don't love that idea. Naomi doing it would be something new, but I don't know that it would have the same impact if it was Jade, right? And we mentioned, like, could it be Charlotte, somebody like that coming back? Maybe. But those are the only ones I think that are really, I would find entertaining. I think anyone else doesn't really make a lot of sense. So, yeah, but we'll see. I think Women's War Games should be a good match. I don't think there's any question about that. But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that could go down in that match. And I think Tiffany's cash-in is the biggest one coming out of it. I mean, however the match finishes, I can see the scenario where Jackson, Liv her down, Tiffany's standing there. She has to make a decision. Maybe she decides to do it on Jax. Crowd goes nuts. And she's going to get cheered, by the way, too. We know that, right? Like, she's going to get cheered like a full-on babyface in this match. Probably. That's just my guess. So, all right, let me catch up on some other stuff here that you guys have. Again, we've already gone through SmackDown. There's no need to do that. We'll spend about 10 more minutes previewing Survivor Series because, like I mentioned, guys, if you are catching up late, not exactly sure if we're going to be able to do the live stream tonight as we usually do. I mean, it's like one of the biggest shows of the year, and I apologize, but again, my travel schedule is kind of all over the place. So if not, we're going to do a live show tomorrow at some point. reacting to Survivor Series. And yeah, we'll do that live. That way you guys can give your thoughts on that. But all right, so right hand cam, appreciate you. He's one of the members here, guys. If you want to join the membership tier, by the way, I mentioned I have some new stuff coming there. We are going to try out some different things starting in December. So literally starting next week for the members only. You're going to get some members only content. So if you want some members only videos, just join it. $3.99. It's really just, hey, you're donating to the channel. Lets me do more of these videos and streams for you guys. So I appreciate you as always. Yeah, what's the favorite right hand cam? We talked about that earlier. I mean, it's got to be something involving the title, right? And which title is maybe the big question. And maybe Heyman joins Punk, or I don't know. Like, it is something like that. And I mentioned that Punk has history with The Rock. He has history, as well. And so does that tie in somewhere? But more questions than answers when it comes to this favor. And I think that has made this more interesting, in my opinion, this match, because we do want to see what happens. So there, but yeah, I don't have a great answer yet on what the favor is, because again, I maybe haven't put as much thought into it as I usually do most weeks. But coming out of this, I'm convinced we got something good working here with this, and I think it probably involves the championship. But I like that they've added this into it because it makes it a little bit more suspenseful here to see what happens. Yeah, don't bring up your Bayley looks guilty. Yeah, Bayley does look guilty here in this scenario. I think she is the one that a lot of fingers being pointed at Bayley. And I just feel like it's too obvious, though. And usually in these kind of scenarios, if you think it's too obvious, especially in the Triple H era, they've got something else brewing. But it does seem like Bayley is the most obvious choice, which is why, as Anthony brought up, Bianca would actually be the person I think that would be the best choice, although it's kind of a weird thing, kind of how they played it up, but we'll see what happens. So, all right, let's see what else we need to do here. So let's look at this one, Kermit's. Yeah, Montez Ford talking about him needing to be a singles wrestler. I think, we've been talking about that for years now, right? And I think they're clearly doing something different now with the Street Profits in terms of trying to give them a little bit more of a, I don't know, what, heelish type tendencies. But I think, and the thing is, it used to just be Montez Ford. I think Angelo Dawkins is just really good too, and I don't think he got enough credit when everyone kind of started pushing Montez Ford, which I completely agree with the sentiment. But I think Dawkins too could pretty much hold his own now, and maybe Ford has the higher ceiling, but I would not underestimate Dawkins being a really good singles star for WWE too at some point. So we'll see what they do with them there. But all right, let's see what else we've got. Yeah, Brian going and saying he thinks Tiffany's going to cash in tonight on Nia. That would be my prediction. That's what I'd go with right now. I think that happens tonight, but it depends on how they do the match, right? That's what makes it fun. So yeah, I would agree with that. So the triple threat should be really good. I said that could be the match that kind of steals the show, because you got Braun Breaker, Ludwig Kaiser, and Sheamus in there. Those three are going to beat the hell out of each other. Let's call it what it is, right? So they are going to destroy each other. And I think Breaker's winning. I said I think if you're going to give Sheamus the first ever Intercontinental Championship win, I think that needs to come in a singles match. I think it needs to come closer to the end of his career to kind of have that one final triumph for Sheamus. And Kaiser, they're building something big for Kaiser, but I just don't think this is the spot either to do it yet. You want it to be kind of a traditional singles win, I think. I don't think you want to do it in a triple threat match. So I think Breaker retains the championship there. But yeah, I guess I did see that Riddle was joining TNA. I saw that last night. So there you go. Good for him. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap up here in a couple minutes. Anything else you want to talk about leading the Survivor Series? Let me know in the comments. I know you guys shared your predictions in the predictions video a couple days ago. I did record that one earlier than usual. So like I go back and I'm like, do I want to change my opinion on this match or that match? But I think the most predictable finish is going to be Gunther beating Damian Priest. I think there's zero chance that Damian Priest wins the championship back tonight. And, again, I think Breaker retains. That's probably the second most confident I am in terms of the picks. Beyond that, I don't really know with the other three. I do think that, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn win in the main event. I'm not sure about LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura, as you know. Maybe I'm kind of overplaying that a little bit, but I do think now is the time where do something different. I just think Knight needs something else. Like, I think him just winning here, I don't think that adds any interest. I feel like it is something where he needs to either lose the championship here or maybe you do the DQ. Although I would go all the way. I would just have Nakamura win the championship from him, because then you have a completely different layer of LA Knight that we have not seen. He's been this cocky, confident, again, attitude era type babyface. Like, have him lose the title here, and now let's see what he does to try to get it back, right? I think that's way more compelling than having him just beat Nakamura or do the get out DQ finish here. So we'll see. I'm not, again, against either of those options, but I would not be a huge fan of LA Knight just simply beating Shinsuke Nakamura straight up. So we'll see. But yep, I'm with you here. Yeah, I think Gunther retains. I don't think there's a lot of question about that. The biggest question with Gunther is what does he do after this? I think that's what probably gets more interesting now, because I just don't think you go back to Priest, right? And then we start to see how do Punk and Rollins get added to this mix. And I tell you, the more I look at this, I think Gunther, WrestleMania opponent next year, WrestleMania 41. I think John Cena is someone that makes a lot of sense just because of maybe Cena either winning the Rumble, winning Elimination Chamber to get that title shot. I think you actually I'd go back maybe on my thought that Cena should win the Rumble. I think maybe you have him come up as the last person who gets thrown out. Then you have him sitting there sort of dejected, right? Knowing that now what is John Cena going to do heading into his last WrestleMania? Is he going to get that shot at breaking the record? Because what does he have to do? He has to go into Elimination Chamber to get there. It's his last opportunity. Maybe have him win that. Go after Gunther. Or hey, listen, you could also do Cena versus Cody. Maybe that's an option, right, on the table. So if you're going to do Rock versus Roman, if that's still a possibility, which I said, I know why a lot of people would get excited about that, but I also wonder, Rock in a singles match right now at his age, main eventing a WrestleMania, is that the best idea? So there's a lot of ways you can go, and that's why, again, give Triple H and company credit. They built up a lot of potential big stories and big matches here that you could have. So yeah, Gunther retains. That's an absolute lock. I don't think there's any question that Gunther's losing the title tonight. So all right, guys, we're gonna hop off here shortly. Give me your thoughts quickly, your predictions on the 2 WarGames matches. Who do you think's winning, the men's and women's side? How do you think it plays out? Give me your predictions real quickly in the comments, and we'll run through those. So here you go. It's a good comment here. G Swell says, I think the favor is Paul is going to be the wise man for CM Punk on Raw. That's going to cause conflict of interest with Roman. Needing him on SmackDown, that's going to create a match for. But yeah, there you go. That's a good point. It may be something just as simple as that, where basically Punk just wants Heyman to be with him, right, as his wise man. Because Punk did say, right, I think it's how it put it. Punk basically said that he was their wise man. He said that specifically in this exchange to Roman, and you can tell Roman did not like that. Like, that's his wise man, right? He's not your wise man. He's my wise man. But Punk's saying, no, he's our wise man. And so you have, Heyman kind of pulling double duty here, which I think is a great idea, because I think the more Paul Heyman you can get, the better in terms of the way you're pushing the storyline and everything. So, yeah, I think that'd be something really good if they could pull that off. So, yeah, I would agree with that. That's a good call. So, all right, let's see what we got here in the comments. Get some of the responses here we just had. So, all right. So, yeah, Punk deserves to win the Rumble. If you remember, guys, like the channel, we first started earlier this year. It was right around the Royal Rumble time. And I mean, probably had 100 people watching then, and maybe 50 subscribers to the channel. Now we've got 11,000, which I appreciate you guys for that. But, I gave all the reasons why I thought Punk should win the Rumble this year. And, it wound up being him and Cody, and that was kind of the obvious final 2. But, yeah, you could maybe see Punk having an opportunity to do that. And maybe that's where Heyman comes in, right? Somehow pull the strings to try to make that happen. So, all right. Let's see. Trey here's got Paulie going heel. Yeah, I mean, Paulie's best as a heel. It's just how they're going to do it to get you back there. I think that's the big question. So, oh yeah, here's a good point too. We brought this up in some of the reaction videos. Kaiser, yeah, he's going to keep getting closer to Gunther. Yeah, remember Gunther kind of laid down the gauntlet for Kaiser too. He's like, some of us need to step things up around here or whatever, kind of re-put it. And Kaiser's been trying to do that ever since then. So I think Kaiser versus Gunther as a championship match at some point would be huge. It's just a matter of how long is Gunther going to hold this title. And Triple H likes his lengthy reigns, but he likes his lengthy Gunther reigns too. And so how long is that going to happen? We'll find out. So, all right, Brian's predicting Roman's team with a victory here tonight. Clarity here saying that Tonga Loa turns on Solo and pins Roman and becomes Tribal Chief. Oh, what a great comment. I would star this comment if I could. I would give you all the stars for this one. Yeah, and that would be, if you want to swerve in the main event tonight, Tonga Loa becoming the new Tribal Chief and pinning Roman Reigns. Now that would be a swerve. All right. So I don't know that I'm going to predict that, but if it happens, I'm all in. Okay. I'm all in on the Tonga Loa Tribal Chief run here. Would be an all-timer here in WWE. But all right, Brian's going to go with Liv's team winning too. So hey, great to hear from you. Glad you jumped in here to the chat. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Again, I did not announce this live stream. Decided to do it based on just my schedule and everything. And so again, we will try to do a live stream tonight for Survivor Series, but I cannot guarantee that. We may have to wait till tomorrow at some point. But anyways, we're all good, guys. We'll make it work. All right, so Kermit's gonna go. Thinks Solo screws up and the OG bloodline turns on him, and The Rock becomes Triple Chief. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm headed with this. I think again, I think there's ways to get Solo back to Roman Reigns in the future, not right now. But I do think Solo kind of going his own way could be an interesting story for a while. If you have The Rock and Jacob Fatu, because remember, they've really played up the Jacob Fatu, I love you, Solo, right? And then at some point, we know there's a big moment coming there where Jacob Fatu, his love for Solo is going to, disappear because The Rock is going to pull the strings or however you decide to do it. So, yeah, but we'll see. All right, so let's see. We got another prediction here. Team Liv wins. Tiffany cashes in on Nia. Yeah, I could see that too. I thought my setup would be maybe Rhea and company win. That leaves Liv and Nia out. But you can still do it to where Tiffany can cash in even after her team wins. So you don't have to have, Rhea and company winning the match to just have Tiffany cash in. She can do it this way too, even if they win the match. So, but yeah. All right. Shout out to Clarity too. Yeah. How fast the channel's been growing over the past couple months. Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, look, and honestly, we're not doing as many of the videos anymore as we used to do. We used to have a lot more videos during the week. My schedule, you guys know, just had a newborn here, a month ago. So it's just been a little wild here recently. So we try to get the reaction videos done, but I don't do as many of the separate, sort of bloodline related videos we were doing, but we're going to get back to that. I promise we'll get back into sort of our normal rhythm, but this is just kind of a seasonal thing where we're doing as many videos as we can. Usually it's Raw and SmackDown related, but I've got some more, like I said, current and sort of old school, review type videos coming for you guys too. And I mentioned I may add NXT into the rotation here too. I've been catching up on NXT, so a lot of fun. So there you go. Okay, so correction, you got Team Rhea wins, Tiffany cash in. Okay, yeah, that's kind of that was a prediction I had, but I think again you can do it either way. Hikuleo's still out there. Yeah, as you mentioned here, he could be someone that gets added to the mix at some point in the future. There's still plenty of bloodline members to come. As we said, they run this bloodline story for another decade, given how many bloodline members are out there, right? But we'll see. So yeah, I hate you, Solo, what Kermit says here. Hate Solo Sikoa. So yeah. Would we see Seth Rollins at the end of the main event to face Punk? Yeah, I said I think Rollins getting involved tonight would not be stunning at all, right? I think you've set that up to where Rollins is going to be pissed off. And if he can, here's the thing, right? If Rollins can not just cost CM Punk, if he can cost Roman Reigns in the same match, if you're Seth Rollins, you're like sitting back, smoking a cigar as happy as can be. Because if you can now cost both of these guys who you hate both of them, if you can cost them both in the same match, more the better. So you could definitely see Rollins playing a factor tonight. All right. So Ralph's got a prediction here. Rock comes back to kick Solo out for not getting the job done. And don't forget, Solo said it. I still love you, Jey, Jimmy, Sammy, and Roman. Yes, there you go. That's an important point. Solo has been, and I mentioned that earlier, like Solo's going to be a very cheered guy at some point in the future. Maybe within the next year, Solo's going to be back either again on his own or he's going to be aligned with some of those guys again, because he has said the entire time, he's shown his respect for, the name of the tribal chief, right? He's like, okay, if you have this Ulafala, you're the tribal chief. And when people have even come back, like Tama Tonga or Tongaloa, whoever said it, they're like, they said something to him. And so it was like, no. If you have this, you're the tribal chief. And so like he's following like the orders of the rule of the family, right? The law of the whatever it is, of the Samoans. Like he's following this. And so he did say this too. He still loves those guys. He always has, and he just wants them to join his bloodline. But I think we're going to realize is Solo's going to come up short again, as we talked about. He's come up short in all these big matches. Not just some of these, along the way. He's got the pin and the multi-man matches and all this other stuff. But like the big matches like this that have huge stakes involved, Solo has not been able to get the job done. And if that doesn't happen tonight, then yes, I think it's that same prediction. The Rock's got to come back. He's got to kick Solo out. Somehow he takes control, however they decide to do it. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But okay, guys, I'm going to hop off here. Like I said, I appreciate you joining in. We did this on short notice, but hey, a good 30-minute discussion. About 5 of that was on SmackDown, 29 minutes maybe on Survivor Series. But again, I appreciate you watching. Hit that like button on your way out. That helps the stream, helps the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you're jumping in for the first time. And again, make sure you turn on your notifications, because we may go live tonight, depending on the schedule, after Survivor Series, or we may wait and do the live stream tomorrow. At what time, I don't know yet. It may be a little bit later in the day, maybe middle of the day, something like that. But I'm just letting you know ahead of time. So turn those notifications on. That way, as soon as I hit that live button, boom, you're jumping in, and we're going to talk about Survivor Series. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you as always. And again, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, also, before we head out, yeah, everybody on your way out, do the Jacob Fatu scream. I love you, Solo. He's tremendous, isn't he? I know I didn't do it real well. G Swole. I'll get better at that. But yeah, hopefully we get to hear that more from Jacob Fatu in the future. But all right, guys, appreciate you watching. I'll talk to you again here soon at Wrestling Reaction.